mean, it is Halloween. It's close enough.
So my cousin's viewing us tonight is costumes encouraged.
That.
Halloween was his
Favorite.
the little people toys and Halloween, so
I'm sorry for your loss, but
thank you.
that's a really fun request.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's in his 50s, so yeah. He lived quite a while for him with Downs. Now he need pens in here too.
Yeah, Will's up there.
Here all night.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still a bat.
I think he could use
There you go.
Brushed his head.
Yeah.
Gasoline on the stove. No, you should just.
Daniel, yeah. What I thought I saw, and what I thought saw were two different things here.
That's funny.
All right, we'd like to welcome everyone and call to order the study meeting for the West Valley City Council. It is October 17th, 2023. I won't tell you how many days before Christmas. It is 4:30 PM in the multipurpose room of West Valley City Hall. We have Councilman Fitzsimonu and Councilman Whetstone online with us. And at the dais, we have Councilman Harmon, Councilman Norfelt, Councilman Christensen, and myself, the mayor, and we will excuse Councilman Hune as of right now. We're also joined at the table with Dan Johnson, our Public Works Director, and Nicole Kamick, our city manager, our city recorder. Oh, she got a promotion. Wow. And now we'll move on to our minutes of October 3rd, 2023. And I'll turn the minutes to the council for discussion or a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And those stand approved. Our meeting for tonight is canceled, so we have nothing to review there. Our award ceremonies, proclamations, we have the proclamation. And I'll turn it over to Nicole.
This is just one that we have done every year, I think for the last 12 or 13 years. Extra Mile Day that recognizes volunteers in the community.
So would anybody like to read it, or does anybody want it to continue? Okay, there we go. I have notes on here, whether or not to continue or not. All right, we'll now go to our public hearings, and our first one is going to be application S3 2023. And Mr. Lehman will take care of that one for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Steve Lehman with the Planning and Zoning Division. This application is a request from Scott Godfrey. I think this comprises the rest of his property. Over the years, we've done a number of applications with Mr. Godfrey. And I think he's kind of absorbed all of the rest of his property into this application. So the map that you see on the screen is what is known as Godfrey Industrial Park number 3 subdivision, but it also amends 2 lots. This lot here, which is lot 1, and this lot here, the vacant lot, is lot 2 of the Godfrey West subdivision. He sold those properties off, and they're, well, this building is constructed and up. The corner lot is still vacant. The reason that those 2 lots are being included in the boundary of the subdivision is that we are taking this road here, which is 2400 South. This is the overpass over Mountain View corridor. And Mr. Godfrey is proposing to run that due west, and we'll show you a slide in just a moment, into the back portion or this bigger piece of property. And the alignment of those 2 lots just so happens to sort of be the divider the center line of what would be 2400 south. So those two lots are affected, and that is why there's an ordinance to amend those lots. We have just a few slides for you to give you the lowdown on the project. So this first slide is looking due west on the overpass. So this building off to the left there is the building that was constructed as part of the Godfrey West subdivision. Both sides of 2400 South, by way of information, are owned by Rocky Mountain Power. And then property to the northwest here is part of the new subdivision. The next slide is looking just to the northwest. The buildings that you see in the distance there were platted as part of the Lee Creek subdivision. Some of you will recall that. That was the corner property as 5900 makes its way around by the 201. The next slide is looking back to the south. So the improvements that the Lee Creek subdivision did right here, curb gutter sidewalk, terminated at this point. So Mr. Godfrey's subdivision will take from that point going south, and improvements will be installed on the west side of 5900 West, which is right here. And the next slide is looking to the south across the 201 frontage road. So the improvements that end here were done as part of the Lee Creek subdivision. Those improvements will wrap around this little area that looks like a wetland and will connect in with improvements further to the west, which the last slide that we have from a photo standpoint is right here. So this is Mr. Godfrey's corporate offices. And so those improvements will extend on the south side of that road. And the last illustration that we have is the subdivision plat. There's an awful lot here. It's 108 acres, so it's really difficult to see, but the two lots that were being amended are right here. This cul-de-sac is approximately 700 feet in length. It will be a dedicated road, so it will be dedicated and built to West Valley City standards. Will terminate in a cul-de-sac, which will provide access to the bulk of the 60-acre piece, which is in the west. And the other three lots up along 5900 will gain access from the cul-de-sac as well. And that is our report.
Okay, to the council, any questions? So not knowing what's going on here, are we confident that this road will handle all the traffic, or do you know what's going in?
Yeah, we've had multiple discussions with Mr. Godfrey. Probably 2 years worth of discussions to ensure that this right of way is deep enough into his property. It is shorter than what we would normally allow for a cul-de-sac in an industrial area. But the cul-de-sac actually does touch this last piece in here. And Mr. Godfrey feels confident that that won't be further subdivided. It'll be just a one user, so there will just be some internal movements. But as far as getting access to the property, he feels confident that that right of way will work.
So if it's not our standard, why are we allowing it?
No, the dedicated right of way will be built to our standard.
No,
Well,
but I
it's-
mean, the
Oh,
length,
the length.
what you would
Yeah.
generally want.
We
as far as
actually
length.
we actually prefer shorter
Oh,
distances.
shorter, okay.
So this is 700 feet, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. In industrial areas, we've actually gone up to 1,000, close to that.
Right.
So he's actually shorter than we would have allowed in the past. And that's really just for accessibility and fire services. The longer you go, the more problematic it becomes. So having it shorter and still meet his needs works for the city.
60-acre parcel also has access to the frontage road of the company.
Correct.
Okay,
It does. And this little angled line, I should have pointed that out on the aerial. This is part of the old Rocky Mountain Raceway piece. So he absorbed all of that property. And then these properties to the west here are part of the ARA Industrial Park Phase 4, which we're working on right now.
perfect. Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now move on to application ZT6 2023. And we'll turn the time over to Mr. Pastrick for that presentation. Oh, and our bat is no longer a bat.
Thank you, Mayor. Share my screen here.
This first item is a request from James and Bart Warner to amend our zoning ordinance. So the city has what we refer to as the 56 West overlay zone. This map highlights where that's the overlay zone applies. So it's along 5600 West between 201 down to 31st South, and then it applies to 250 feet on both sides of the street. So it's that hatched area you can see along the street. And one of the provisions in that ordinance says that for any buildings that are within that overlay zone, any street facing sides of the building need to be built with 100% masonry exteriors. Okay, so that's what is in the code currently. And what the applicant's requesting here is to modify that so that there would be other materials that would be allowed. And specifically, those materials would be architectural metal, ceramic tile, and then more of a what I'm calling a faux wood type, or it's more like a composite material and I'll show some examples. And from a staff perspective, the materials they're requesting are actually materials that have been used on newer, nicer buildings in the city. And we feel like it makes sense. The overlay zone, just for history, was put in place first in 2004. And back then, these materials really weren't as common or even used back then. So with that just background, here are just some examples. So this is the hotel over at the mall, just right by 215. So you can see this area here is tile, ceramic tile here as well as here. And then they have metal panel along this section at the top. Here's another view of that where they have tile on the north side of the building with these are two different kinds of metal panel on the north side of the building. The Mountain America that's on the north side of 35th, this is metal panel here that's a darker gray. This is actually a townhome building that has tile on the ground level. The Granger Medical, this pop out section here is all metal panel on the building. The Embassy Suite, so this one has both, this is all metal panel down to here, and then this is what we would call that faux wood composite. So it's made to look like wood, but it's not actually wood and is a more durable.
So those are the standards in this redevelopment area, correct?
Correct. So what they're proposing is that so the metal panel, the faux wood, and the tile would be allowed while they're not currently.
Right. Okay.
And here's another example. This is of course, the office tower here that has a metal panel on the ground floor and then an upper levels of the building as well. And just the reason they're requesting this, and these are very conceptual, but Mr. Warner has a dealership they'd like to introduce in the city along 5600 West that's part of the truck center. And this particular company produces kind of higher end off-road vehicles. And as part of their dealership, they would like to use some of these materials. And again, compared to say something like a stucco, these are actually more expensive materials. So we've, as staff, feel like it's a good change and would update the overlay zone. So again, just a few other views. Again, these are conceptual, but it kind of gives you an idea of the type of building they'd like to build. So in summary for this item, again, the request is to modify the overlay zone so that materials like architectural metal panels, ceramic tile, and this faux wood composite material can be used. And just to clarify, we added language that said we don't want it to be a structural metal. So if you think about, for example, a Quonset hut, right, where it's the metal is the structure, this is more it's a metal panel that's put on as a veneer, right, as like a siding material, and it's not structural.
Is out in this area, they could definitely want to do the structural. But this, if this is the level we have at City Hall's area, I think this would be a great move.
Right. And at the time, when this is put in place, if you look at some of the older buildings in the salvage yards, those were structural metal.
Right.
So we were trying to get away from that.
So this clarifies it.
Right.
Okay, sorry. To the council, any questions? Before I just sit and talk all. Yeah, I think this is great. And it's going to be a great opportunity because to get a new dealership like this is pretty remarkable in the valley.
It would be the only one in Utah, is my understanding.
Yeah. And one of not too many in the United States. I heard somebody, there we go, Jake.
Yeah.
What can I do?
Yep, I'm just echoing the mayor here. I think that there are pros to making that change, and these seem like good materials, and we see already that there's some attractive uses of them around the city, so I'm not opposed.
All right. Seeing no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then we'll go to our public hearing, which is Mr. Pastrick, application Z2 2023.
Thank you, Mayor. So this next item is a zone change and actually kind of in the same general area. Going to make this a little bit larger here. So property, there's two parcels, 2256 and 2260 South, 5700 West. The two properties together total 2.2 acres. You can see the site here outlined in red. It's just east of the Mountain View corridor and on the west side of 5700 West. Just by way of history, this particular property was first built back in early it was 1990. It was a storage building. It's a metal building. So as an example of structural metal building that was built, it's had a number of different users over the years. And before I talk about the specific proposal here, I think it's helpful to kind of understand a little bit of the history in this area, and then I'll talk about their specific proposals. So again, these two properties are the ones in question. The request is to take it from the current light industrial zone to the manufacturing zone is the request. Here's just a close-up of that. Just by way of background, UDOT still owns quite a bit of property in the area that we anticipate eventually being surplus. So for example, the parcel to the north, the property to the south was all acquired as part of the Mountain View Corridor project. And at some point, we anticipate that being surplus or sold off for development. So again, here's the zoning map that shows the larger area. This light industrial zoning was put in place back in, I believe it was 2016 that was done, or 2016. And again, if you go far enough back for those that aren't familiar with the history, so this area started out clear back in the 60s as kind of salvage yard area where you had dirt roads and just sort of the Wild West back then in terms of improvements. By 1980, when the city incorporated, most of that area, that kind of square area you see from south of this line, was all pretty much salvage yards. Then over the years, the city, well, before I go to that, the city worked to try to redevelop or encourage other uses in that area. And again, that was an effort over decades that happened. And you'll see in the meeting minutes, we provided a history. I won't go over all of that, but we did things such as, put a redevelopment area in place. We did a special improvement district to get improvements into the area. And then, of course, the biggest change was UDOT coming in and acquiring property and putting in the Mountain View corridor. We've also had some new development like the Wasatch Fleet, which is out on 5600 West, where we've seen some new light industrial development occur in that area. And so the proposal for this property then is Carlson Distributing, which is a business already in West Valley City. They're out in our industrial park. They acquired the property with the intent to use it as a truck repair facility. So they, as a distributing company, they have a lot of trucks that they have and it needed a place to have those serviced. And the current zoning, the light industrial zone, would have two challenges with that use. So the first is that the light industrial zone allows repair more as a secondary use to a main business. So for example, if you have a dealership that, the main use is the dealership, but the repair is more secondary to that. The other is that any kind of storage is not allowed in the light industrial zone. And Any trucks that would be awaiting repair more than 24 hours are technically considered storage at that point. So that's the reason why they're asking for the zone change, is so that they can have this truck repair business and be essentially in compliance with zoning. Now, given the history here and the fact that we're shifting more from these more heavy industrial uses to more light industrial uses, the Planning Commission recommended a development agreement. And in that, there are a number of things that they suggested as part of this zone change. So first would be to prohibit some of the heavy industrial uses that would be allowed in the M zone by development agreement. So that's one. So for example, you couldn't do a vehicle recycling yard or a salvage yard again. So we don't want to go back to that, right? Couldn't do a towing and impound yard, other like heavy industrial uses. And then there are a number of items in the development agreement that get into improvements that would be needed to the property. So for example, paving the rest of the lot that's currently just gravel or portions of gravel, making some repairs to the building. You'll see here, so the prior, and sorry, there's a long history with this property, but the prior owner of the property, unfortunately, just went in and started running a business without any kind of approvals, did an addition to the building without a permit. And so the city took enforcement action, and now the new owners, Carlson Distributing, are wanting to get everything into compliance and get the building addition permitted. And so these are the plans that were submitted by the prior owners before they essentially sold the property. But this area here is the existing building. That'd be essentially paving everything around the building and then having landscaping both along the east side, along 5700 West, as well as along Mountain View Corridor. And this just shows, again, this wouldn't be final, but this shows roughly what the landscaping would look like. So here, I'll just go through some images of the site. This is looking west, so you can see the metal building there on the right. Again, a lot of maintenance is needed, and that's all addressed in the development agreement. So just, weeds and things. This is looking north. So the 5700 West is kind of dead ends here at the north end of the salvage yards. Looking south along 5700, again, just in that space between the fence and the curb and gutter, just needs some maintenance. This is looking on the east side of the street. Again, looking towards the building. Again, a lot of cleanup that would be needed just here along the south side of the property. This is looking west toward Mountain View. Again, looking at the back of the building. So that you can see the back portion or western portion of the building where you just have sort of the OSB. That was the addition that was done without a permit. And so as part of this cleanup, they would end up siding that and having the building be matching around the sides of the building. In north on 57, just another shot of the building. There's a few we have. Again, there's just areas like you can see in the bottom left of the building where they just need to put up siding instead of just wood on the exterior. This is the north side of the building, where again, just some landscape cleanup and fence repair that's needed. So this is the trail. So now on the west side of the property, this is now looking at the back side of the building. So again, you can see just some of the cleanup that's needed. And again, the fence that's in disrepair that's needing some improvements there. And that's the last slide. So to summarize, the request here is to change the zoning from the light industrial zone to the manufacturing zone to support a truck repair facility. And then that would be accompanied by a development agreement that would limit the uses. So excluding some of those heavier uses that would be allowed in the M zone. So those would be excluded. And then also including a list of improvements that would be needed to the property. That they would, as part of them coming in and applying to get a business license and things, we would make sure that those improvements are made.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council? So is there any discussion about them upgrading the outside of that building and maybe adding the new materials that are allowed in that area?
So the prior application applied within the overlay zone. So this particular property is outside of the overlay zone. It's,
Saying, can we put it in?
yeah.
Tell them to use that stuff. Can we encourage them to improve the outside look of that and make it, maybe use some of those
So
materials?
what we had put on, it was more just trying to have it be consistent. So like using consistent colors and materials to match the original building. That's what's in the agreement currently. So
The original building is not,
It's not pretty.
no,
and that's something we can ask. So we have, this is something where it's we're studying today and then again get studied again next time. So I can ask that question of them if there's, you know, other materials they would consider to sort of upgrade the exterior.
yeah, because to me, that still just looks like salvage yards, not an upgraded, improved addition. And if we're gonna have new development on either side of it, it would be nice if this was more uniform of what could come in.
So are you asking for special requirements for this property that we don't usually do for light industrial?
Manufacturers,
They're changed, well,
what they're saying is they can't do some of these things that couldn't be done in manufacturing.
right, so they're asking for a zone change. So we can ask more. And where we're going to be encouraging other really nice businesses to come in around them. I think we should start early, and encourage everybody to up their game.
Just add it to our development agreements for that area.
Yeah, and
So,
where we have the ability to do that right now, I think it's a good
but
opportunity.
if someone came in with the current zoning right now,
Right, then we wouldn't be allowed.
they could use this building material on their buildings.
It's so if you're using just the building, an existing building, right, we wouldn't have them bring the existing building up to code. But if someone were coming in under the light industrial zone today for like a repair facility, assuming it was allowed, that they would need to meet the design standards that the city has, which wouldn't allow just a straight metal building. They could do some metal, but not just like an entire metal
So
building.
this doesn't fit what we would require for new construction
Correct.
in this zone.
Correct. But yeah, but for an existing building, we don't require existing buildings to be retrofitted.
But with the add-on and everything else, I think that's the best opportunity to have them upgrade it.
I'll definitely bring it up with them.
And then one more thing, fencing, we need to. Says that they just have to make sure the fencing is not in disrepair, but. Are there any opportunities where we could have them put a masonry fence in or?
We could, so part of the discussion there, and I'll go back to one of the images that shows this. So they're not, right now, they're not required to have fencing with one exception. So and this was actually a recent code change that went before council. So whenever you have a storage area, okay, it's required to be screened with a masonry wall whenever it's next to like a major facility like Mountain View Corridor or say 215. But there is an exception that says when there's a change in topography, like there is here, we can do a different kind of a fence. And that would be a decision that would be made by the planning commission at the time the conditional use goes through. The idea being that if you're, because the Mountain View Corridor is elevated here, you're still going to be able to see into the yard, even if they had a 6-foot or even 8-foot fence, just because of the change in topography. So planning commission, again, did a decision yet because they haven't applied yet, but was leaning more towards keeping it more of an open fence just because the masonry wall wouldn't be as effective in this case.
Is that a trail right there?
It is. And so that was another consideration is so people on the Mountain View or people on the highway couldn't would be able to see, but someone on the trail wouldn't. So yeah, valid point.
I thought you were saying the people from the trail would be able to see in, but you were talking the freeway people would see in, even if it was a masonry,
Right.
but it would be blocked visually. to The trail. Okay.
Correct. Because they're roughly at the same grade.
So the storage we're talking about here is vehicles?
The trucks, right?
Is it vehicle parts? I mean, are,
It would just be trucks, the trucks that are awaiting service, right? So but the way our code reads is anything that's parked for more than 24 hours is considered storage at that point. So, we wouldn't be like having like car parts outside. It would just be the trucks themselves.
And trucks come in all sizes. Is this for semis or just regular?
Semi
Okay.
trucks, yeah.
Any other questions? And I keep forgetting to look online, so. Okay, right, thank you. All right, our resolutions. We'll turn the time to Mr. Cushing for an interlocal agreement.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an interlocal agreement between West Valley City and Salt Lake County so that we can obtain the aerial photography that they've obtained. It's cheaper to go through the county than to have the city flown over ourselves and get that data. And that information is used by multiple software systems in the city, used across departments. It's very beneficial to keep that updated.
Okay, something we routinely do. Is anybody with a question?
We update it when the county does, which is usually about once a year.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll now turn the time over to Deputy Chief Christensen or Christiansen, depending which family you live in, for resolution 23-151.
Thank you, Mayor. It's Brandon Christiansen, Deputy Chief of Police Department. I'm here for an interlocal agreement between West Valley City and Salt Lake County. It's actually an amendment to something that you guys passed earlier this year. It's going to allow us to continue security services there throughout December of 2024 at the West Valley County Library.
Okay. Any questions?
it's the one here by City Hall. right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now go to resolution 23-152 and turn the time over to Mr. Erickson.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Yes, so this issue is regarding the wall replacement at Fazio Farm Park. The park itself, which is located at 5240 West Rancho Vista Lane, was originally built in 1997. The wall itself was built prior to that. I'm pretty sure it was the developer that built that a few years earlier than the park was built. It was built with a product called Speed Block that is kind of a way to eliminate some of the work that is required with regular block. And so as sometimes happens with that, this wall is starting to come apart. And so as you can see, so you can kind of see some areas there where you've got almost like Lego looking, right, areas that that it's starting to come apart. So this is a little closer look to it. And you'll see that like on the top course of the block there, you can kind of see there's metal plates in there that as they start to rust a little bit, they pop, and then that's what causes the whole wall to come apart.
Well, they're only like 3 or 4 inches deep, not a normal cinder. block.
That's correct. It's, yeah, it's about a 4-inch deep block. So the piers themselves are normal width, the 8-inch block, and then the ones between the piers are only like 4-inch block. And so, and the way that it was constructed, so they only use mortar on the horizontal surfaces. There's no mortar on the vertical surfaces. And then those metal plates, there's all thread that runs through from the top metal plate down to one, lower in the wall. And it, so that's what actually holds the wall up. So, they do not make this style of speed block anymore.
Wonder why.
Yes, and so it's nothing that we can replace, and even if we could, we would still have to tear down the whole wall and basically start over from scratch. So as part of that, we submitted bids, or we did a formal bid process. We received one bid back, which was from Harper Precast. Their bid came in at $82,159. It will include the removal and hauling off of the existing wall, installing the new wall, and then any landscape damage repair that needs to happen with that as well. And then it will look similar to that. The wall that goes back in.
That looks nice.
Any questions?
Anything from the council?
Finally.
I haven't been asking very long, just like 6 or 8 years. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, do we have an anticipated start and end date?
They will be done before the end of the year.
Sweet. Okay,
Which year?
This year.
this year.
I talked to him today just to make sure, because yes. by the end of the year.
Okay, thank
Tell
you.
It's been a while.
All right, we'll now turn the time to Mr. Johnson for resolution 23-153.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution requesting authorization to purchase a truck and snowplow equipment. We call it a slurry truck. It's one of the trucks that we use. It's in our slurry seal fleet. Every year, we use these trucks to do the slurry seal installation. And then at the end of the season, we have a crane come in and pull the slurry box off and put snow equipment on the same truck and on the same chassis, and so use them year round with different functions. And so this particular truck's it's a 2012 and it's time to replace it. So we're recommending that you approve this, and it's going to take us a couple of years to get the trucks because that's just the way it is right now. And yeah, if there's any questions, I'll do my best to entertain them.
Okay, to the council. Okay, no questions. So I think all departments are going to have to be really on top of their vehicle purchases from this point on.
It's tough. Yeah. Yep, it's tough.
So we're replacing the current truck
Yes.
that has slurry upfitting and snow removal upfitting already on
Yes.
it. And then we're also buying more snow removal equipment to upfit this new truck.
Yes.
We can't, it's all worn out.
You could, it's just rusted and brown and it's worn out. It really is, they get beat up pretty hard. And so certainly could recondition them, but with as much salt as these things take, I don't recommend it.
And then are we gonna surplus the old one or?
Yeah, we'll auction it and get a decent amount because it's hard to find trucks. So,
Everybody will be wanting it.
yep.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, we'll move on to resolution 20-154. And Eric, I've never had to say your last name, so Brundum?
Brandon.
Brundum.
It's like it's spelled.
Well, not everybody does that. Yep. As soon as I do that, it'll be something more.
Well, this is part of our ongoing streetlight maintenance and improvements for the city. We are replacing some lights that on Lake Park Boulevard and Lynx Drive that were installed in the 90s with direct buried wire that's been met its lifetime. So we're going to put these in. We're going to put conduit in so that we can maintain it easier and keep them working.
And all of our conduit boxes or lock boxes?
Well, on this project, we're switching to aluminum wire.
Oh, okay,
So we're hopeful that if somebody does decide to get in there, they're gonna realize it's aluminum, and even if they cut it, we'll be able to repair it and they won't take all of it, hopefully.
can you put a little sign?
Yeah, we
Not
have,
copper, leave me alone.
yeah, we have stencils that we're putting in on the aluminum installs that say this is aluminum wire. It's not worth your time.
Thank
So,
you. Well, because the conduit makes it easier to still,
yeah, but
pulling it
it's.
through the dirt is not easy,
No,
so.
but even then, when on direct bury, they'll still try to pull it out and then that's even harder to repair. So,
Yeah.
I walked past on Lakes Drive a week or two ago. And saw one of the light posts with the open panel
the handle.
and look at the wire had been
Yeah,
pulled out.
yeah. So people have tried to steal wire out of these. So they end up cutting it and tugging on it, and sometimes it pulls out of the dirt a little bit, but they usually don't get a whole lot.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions, thank you so much. All right, we'll go to our consent agenda. Which, did anybody have any questions? Or would you like, Mr. Johnson, do you have one that stands
I
out?
would like to just bring attention to the last one. Item number
Okay.
F is a delay agreement, and the council doesn't always love the group delay agreements. The first A through E are all just right-of-way acquisitions. No, nothing stands out of ordinary, but this is a particular delay agreement on the north frontage road of SR 201 at about 6,800 west approximately. And it would be our recommendation that the council execute this particular delay agreement. We have amassed a handful of delay agreements along that roadway. And we may be getting closer to a critical mass where it would make sense to do a project and call delay agreements from commercial properties that would indeed have hopefully the capacity to make that happen.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is a good opportunity to just mention, we've had discussions, just given the council's concern with delay agreements and our own as well. They're very difficult to call and to handle. But our one thing that the council could consider would be a code change that would allow cash in lieu of improvements. So if there was a circumstance where a developer, where we didn't want them to install improvements, it would cause problems that this could potentially be an option where they would essentially pay what would be an estimated cost for the improvements at the time of the development, permits issued, and then they no longer have a responsibility to install those improvements. We would assume that responsibility at a future date where it could be, and we would have to tuck that money away and use it for that purpose. But if there's an interest and an appetite, that could be something that we could bring you a real ordinance change proposal if you wanted to have that discussion. These delay agreements are really tough, especially on residential properties where they don't really know what they've bought.
Right.
What obligation they purchased as
Yeah.
well.
Well, they're very hard to collect in. I've always thought,
Very tough, yeah.
yeah, we should just make them do it as we go.
Yeah,
But this
and
is a
where
good
we
alternative.
can't, we just
Yeah.
don't have great options, but cash in lieu gives us something that we could at least work with in the future and
Sense.
Yeah.
if you have
I
an
think that-
appetite, we could bring something for your consideration in the future.
I think the big issue for me would be how do we estimate costs and
Sure.
how's that calculated?
Yep, that would be one of the challenges to work through.
And the hangup would be that would do the estimated cost at the time of the development.
Right.
And when we get around to putting in those improvements, it might be.
Way less, way less.
That's what I'd cross my fingers for one day. Yeah, and we would certainly, our finance department would invest the money and we'd get a little bit of return on it and hopefully it would help
Yeah.
eat some of the inflation, but it's unlikely to cover it. So,
Right, but it's better off than where we're at now, when we usually can't get anything
sure,
out of
it's
them.
a tough situation now.
Yeah. They're like, I already have my place, you build it if you want it.
Mhm.
And just because we can't get everybody to develop at once, yeah, I think the funds are a great idea.
Okay, if that's something you're interested in, we'll work
I
on
see enough.
something.
Yep, let's go. Out of enough heads nodding, we
Okay.
can move forward with that.
Thank you.
Okay. Unfinished business. We have application ZPZ 2023. We don't have any new information until next week, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
They meet with Magna, I believe on the 19th, so.
okay, on Thursday. Okay, we'll move on to our communication archive discussion. Anybody have a discussion? I know Dawn would like someone to start moving forward with it. Has staff come together with any cost analysis or what it would take?
There was a memo that was distributed to the council that I became aware of, that really just discussed some different options.
Were the costs on that email?
I don't think they were.
Okay.
And I don't know that,
May
it
or
seems to
something.
me that what Nancy was proposing was hiring like a graduate level student to
Work on it.
work on that and develop policy on how to manage these in the future.
I think Jamie's aware as well, if you have any other questions that.
She may have, do you
You have
have cost
costs?
ideas or?
We ideally would hire a person to oversee that for the city. And the cost was determined to be about, I think it was like 60-ish thousand for a full-time person plus benefits. And then also some storage solutions for the area of the cultural center where they store a lot of this. And then really direction from the council on what needs to be retained, what, we do have a lot of stuff, but we don't know if it's what you're looking for. Obviously, we have a lot of sister city stuff. We have some art pieces. So we just want to be sure that we're collecting and storing what's desired to be retained. I mean, we have tens of thousands of pictures, as I'm sure you all know. So we just need to know how the best method for storage of those and how much of that you want stored. And many have, dozens of copies of each photo. So
Well, we digitized 90% of the photos.
we have digitized a lot of photos. Yeah, obviously now they are, when Kevin Conti was here and took an awful lot of pictures, but we still have a lot of printed pictures that have not been digitized as well.
Okay,
And so we're happy to look into bringing someone on to help us with that process and help us determine some policies and guidelines. And then, once we have approval, we really would need someone, a professional, to manage that and take care of that for the city through the cultural center division.
what are your thoughts? Mr. Richardson?
I think we need to push forward. And she says we've got a lot of stuff, a lot of art pieces, a lot of gifts that were given to the city.
Yeah, we don't even know the value.
And would need somebody with a little expertise to estimate value and things like that. There's a lot there.
So with 60,000 salary and benefits, about $100,000 a year. It's kind of like when you're cleaning out your closet and deciding whether or not to put in a storage unit or not. Is it even worth that? Or should you just put it all in the EI dumpster?
Yeah.
So that's you can tell. I did this a lot during COVID. So the question is, do we have the budget for it in the Parks Department? And is it an expense you want to take on of 100 plus a year?
It would need to be a new position.
Right.
Yeah, position, so.
And some of it's one-time cost for the storage and, evaluation of value, some of those things. And then the ongoing cost would be the personnel and acquisition of new pieces as desired.
What's the end goal? I mean, what? What we
Just
wanna
know what
do
you
with
have
all
in your
this,
closet.
Inventory of your junk drawer?
Oh, there you go. Put it in the closet.
That's how I look at it. And then maybe I need to look at it. Maybe we need to take a tour of what's there, but. And where are we gonna keep it? Where are we gonna display it? Sounds like. Yeah, more than I'm interested in.
Need a Library of Congress.
Inventory.
When Kevin was there, he did make up displays of it and that at different times because he kind of knew where everything was.
Yes.
I know from Sister City, about 14 years, we had Sister City. I wouldn't put a value on it because most of it was gifts that were given to us that were either made or there's a lot of calligraphy, a lot of crafty stuff, a lot of ceramic stuff that is potentially valuable, and art pieces that,
Valuable if you're willing to sell it. Otherwise, it's still just a ceramic bowl.
It might be nice to display more art around.
There would, and we used to have more out, but it's been all just sucked away, so.
Yeah.
This used to have glass cabinets all the way around it with things displayed all the time.
about those when the civic committee still
Was around.
around.
So we used to display more, but we've gotten rid of it. So if it's a priority to display more. But I don't know at what price.
Be nice to have an art display at the fitness center because a lot of patrons use the fitness center, places where a lot of our residents are frequenting, that have things on display for them to enjoy.
Well, and we have, even with this building, we had 10 or 12 city residents that were artists do paintings, and those used to be throughout City Hall,
Yeah.
but they've all been taken down too.
So it's not just Sister City
Pardon?
stuff,
Oh, I'm sorry, well, Will has his hand up,
Okay.
whenever.
and it's not just Sister City
No,
stuff.
it's different things, yeah, and that's why there's a lot of different. Which the art from residents would kind of be cool to have back up.
Yeah.
I don't know any of these other artists. So. Hey. Councilman Whetstone, you have a comment?
Well, I was just going to mention, I don't know what skill set is required to organize artifacts or historical things, but I don't know that I'm willing to bring on a full-time person to do that. I'm curious if, we often in parks will hire a seasonal worker, depending on the time of year, if that's a duty that we could extend that seasonal position and add on to it some duties. But again, I don't know if there's skills that are transferable into organizing and archiving all this artifacts.
Yeah, and if cost is the biggest block to it, we could ask if there's any volunteers in our city. I mean, we might have people with this exact talent that are retired, sitting around wondering what to do with their Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they could come put a few hours in a week and slowly, and then maybe report back that, you guys have a gold mine down there. We should do something different than hiring somebody to mine gold when it's only a junk drawer. It might be good to just get a review of it. Councilman Fitzsimonu.
Yeah, you stole some of the words right out of my mouth.
Sorry.
I'm going to say some of this was raised in a meeting it's awesome, with state history that had a listening session there at the Cultural Center. And there were some folks there who I think were associated, still are, or were associated with the West Valley City Historical Society. And I wonder if we've consulted with them to see if there would be any interest there. And even if it wasn't volunteer, maybe some kind of a stipend. But I think you're right. I think there are people who have that interest and experience, even as amateurs, maybe not a professional archivist, but folks that would be willing to help out on a volunteer or stipend basis. I think if we haven't reached out to that group or folks affiliated with them, I think that might be a good place to start.
Okay,
The historical organization, we changed the name and I don't remember what it is now, but hasn't been meeting regularly for some time, for a few years. And we did have a member of our organization who was cataloging documents and scanning them at the Cultural Celebration Center. I don't know if he's still actively doing anything like that.
Doing history, oral histories.
Oral histories, yeah.
so would there be anybody from that committee you could reach out to
I don't know. I mean,
or give us a list?
could-
I don't know who was on that committee. Was Bill Barton on that one?
yes.
Okay. So that's the only one I know.
Yeah, it was a gal that did the Christmas tree every year.
Sherry Jimbo Biesinger.
Yeah,
She's
Oh, she's very active on
She's-
Facebook.
very active on this kind of thing. I mean, she has gone through our pictures and compiled a bunch of different things with those. Yeah, she seems interested and motivated.
I thought she have a Facebook group, I think.
Yeah,
No, you grew up in Granger.
Yeah. And maybe it's not her, but maybe it's some other active people on that Facebook group that are locals that would be interested in recreating a committee. Would work through that. They'd probably get pretty excited about
Yeah.
maybe.
through all that stuff.
So
Somebody
who,
would.
do you remember who the chair was of that committee?
No, but I can look that up. Who was?
Sherry Biesinger.
Oh, was it Sherry?
I don't know if she was chair.
I may have a list.
You might have
I,
a list?
I can
Okay.
look through some of my old records, and see if I have a list of the committee members.
I know, would it,
Back into the archive.
so would it be appropriate to have Jamie or somebody reach out or a council member that has a relationship? What do you think?
So one reason we disintegrated is we would have meetings that were scheduled. And they would ask us, you know, are you going to be there? And there wouldn't be enough to be there to form a quorum.
Oh, okay.
Sister city.
Yeah.
But if they're not meeting as a meeting, it doesn't matter how many shows up, they could just organize. You wouldn't need a quorum.
Right. But if you wanted to take any action that requires asking for funds,
Right.
which is pretty much anything that's worthwhile.
Well, but I mean, if we're just asking them to catalog, we would figure out ahead of time if they're willing to do it on a volunteer, or if they would want a stipend, and then the council could direct that.
Yeah.
That might be more economical than 100,000 a year. Are you more amenable to that?
I think maybe Wayne might be a person to reach out to her. He's worked with her in the past, sort of society.
Okay. So you want to go there and then see if she has any suggestions, if she's unable to help with them?
I think it'd be something to start with at least.
Okay. All right. Good. All right, let's try that. Okay, our next one, our city manager hiring process. I'll turn the time over to Mr. Flores.
All right, I'll be real quick today. I don't have much for updates. really just a reminder for your scheduled meetings the next 2 days. And check if anybody has any questions for me.
Any questions?
Okay.
Are you gonna need any more time tonight?
No, I don't necessarily need anything, no.
There we go.
Okay,
And
thank you.
then-
How we set for interim city council? I know that Wayne talked to us about that or emailed us.
Yes, so that would be the only thing is if you guys want to discuss that further, we can definitely do that.
In here or in a closed session?
That's really up to you. As far as I understood, I thought you did want to do that in a closed session. And I think that would work.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So should we do that in a closed session today?
Yeah, we need one for acquisition of real property as well. So we could do both of those. And no, one would be recorded and one's not.
Correct.
Okay.
So we would probably do the acquisition of property and
Record.
then the recording go into the.
Okay. So whoever wants to make that motion, that'll be those two.
Just,
Oh, yeah.
where are we meeting for the next 2 days? We're meeting back here?
It'll be in the council chambers.
Council chambers?
Table.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our council calendar. Were there any issues with that? So there's two soccer hockey games, 22nd and 28th, I think, or 26th.
Soccer on ice.
Yeah. Kind of is. The first, those two, nobody has signed up for them. I was the only one that didn't sign up for anything. I just took what the leftovers were. I can't make either one of those. So if anybody would like to either trade or go to them.
Great.
Okay. So we can do that. That was my only thing. So no other questions with that one. Our new business, potential future agenda items. Can't remember how many. I know I have the one. Can't remember if I had a second. No. Okay. So Mayor Hall from Bluffdale is starting a drive for the homeless shelter, the Salt Lake Homeless Shelter. 400 blankets, 400 something, and men's underwear. Yes, that's the one that stuck out. The other one was, there she is. They kind of changed, towels, 400 towels. So she was interested if we wanted to have some kind of a drop off or advertise this and have a drop off with just our staff or for staff and residents. And if we wanted to help raise these materials for that function. And we could deliver them to Bluffdale. They want them by Monday, the 30th. So is anybody interested in participating, or do you think we should as a city?
Seems pretty quick to be able to organize that.
You have a week. I'm just throwing it out there. No big desire. I mean, the one thing, we have the opportunity to do the same thing for our overflow here as well. So we may just want to focus that and maybe do one of those.
When they start getting the overflow here.
Yeah.
It might be better. Kind of organize it within the city and
what they need particularly. Okay. So should I just tell her we're going to do that instead? Okay.
sounds good to me.
Okay, thank you.
And then I had one.
Oh, yes, Nicole has one.
I just wanted to see if the council had any preference regarding a meet the candidate night or debate. So we have a few potential options. The first would just be that we don't do one at all. The second would be that The League of Women Voters reached out to me and during the primary and inquired if we wanted to do that. They had just done it a little bit too late, that we didn't have time to put it all together. So I could see if they have an interest for doing one for the general. And then the third option that I was kind of curious about was Orem actually did short videos of each candidate and then shared that on their website and social media. And they've had a really good response from the community for that. So that would be another option. But just wanted to see if there was a preference at all. And
Again, we're running into the exact same problem we had with the primary. We won't be able to do it before the ballots are out.
yeah, they come out October 31st. So
Yeah, and I don't know how many people vote right when they get it and how many would wait until the 15th if they knew we were having a debate of some sort. I don't know. It's a hard one.
it is a hard one. It's hard to know. I mean, historically, there hasn't been high turnouts, but I mean, we can always.
You know, we've had a month and a half, 2 months actually, since the primary. And if they wanted to organize something, there were 2 months there, they could organize something. And now it's, at least for me, you know, I'm out doing my thing and I will continue that through the end of November.
So anybody else on the council have an opinion?
Well,
I mean, the main reason I got brought up is because we got an email from a resident saying, are you having one? I have some good suggestions.
yeah,
And she's a former city council member, so I'm bringing it up.
yeah.
Chamber West used to host them, and they as a board just kind of went away from doing that. They offered to moderate if there were an event, but
I hate to sound negative, but everybody that was at those meet the candidate nights, when I've been at them, already knew who they were voting for because they were either related or good
Oh.
friends.
Well, and that's why I really like Nicole's
video.
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 That one we could do really quick, get them on.
Yes, and they were, I mean, I think the ones in Orem, they asked like 5 questions of each candidate. And then again, it's on the website, so if people are interested and
And we can tell them that as we
as you can,
canvass.
Right.
Campaign.
that's just an option. But again, we don't have to do anything. I just wanted to see if there was any direction from the council.
I think the website would be the best idea.
So would the videos be produced by the city?
Yes, yeah, so we would just have maybe 5 set questions and say
And ask everybody the same
same
question.
questions, and then it's just available.
So there'd be
If you'd
6
like, I could
videos.
send you Orem's just so you can see what it looks like, or again, we would make it our own either way, but there's no real whatever you would like.
So-
I worry that when the city staff starts getting involved in
Yeah.
campaigning.
Yeah, that's another,
That some quirk might happen.
for sure.
That we would be
and That
blamed.
will give an excuse for
Yeah,
a candidate to say, hey, it's
Yes.
not my fault, it's the city's fault.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of cities struggle too with hosting a Meet the Candidate night and not an outside entity. Just because we need to, the city needs to be neutral. So a lot of cities say, we're not gonna host it at all. If the chamber wants to do it, if another group wants to do it, they can, but the city stays out of it. So it's really a preference among the council on how you feel about those types of things, so.
I've been finding recently that this weird calendar
Oh,
for
yeah.
elections that we have this year,
Yes.
a lot of people have said, oh. You
you thought you already
didn't
won.
win?
I've had a lot of calls.
Yeah, I did too.
There's another election in November?
What do
Yeah,
you mean?
and seasoned people who should have known it was a primary, but because it was off by that much, they just,
Or I've even been contacted by people saying, why haven't I got my ballot yet? I usually have it by now. And
Right.
well, our election's not till the end of November, so.
Yeah.
They go out on Halloween, so.
Be sure to clean your mailbox out on Halloween day.
So I'm not seeing a lot of people begging for us to participate in this at all. So I think we can
think
just
we should
move
stay out
along.
of it.
Okay,
Thank you.
easy enough. Okay, council reports.
I have one other
Okay.
agenda item.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Out campaigning today, I was over on the east side of 27th. And I got several questions. Why did the west side get a new wall and east side didn't? And I said, wasn't in the plans.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah.
And it really just boiled down to funding. And we are building we're actually out acquiring right away right now for an east wall. That'll go from 4100 south. But part of it will be built by UTA. It's part of that bus rapid transit project they're working on. And then part of it we will extend beyond UTA's project, and we'll do it to get to the church. And so that's something that the council's already given us the green light on. We've actually done the budget opening and we're working on it.
So we are working on it.
Yep,
41 to
the
about
church.
the Costco Road.
Yeah, right before the Costco road, yeah.
As I said, the other side looks great. Our side looks like we're entering a ghetto.
It's all been, yep, we've just faced it as we've been able to.
You are part.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah.
It does need to be an agenda.
Okay. Now council reports. Mr. Weston.
Just that I attended Sleepy Hollow. It was a great production and I've seen a lot of good reviews on it. So attended that on Friday night, Friday the 13th.
There we go. That was a good activity.
Yes, it was. I was there with you. I don't know where you were, but I was.
Oh, okay. Did you see the Headless Horseman out front?
Yes. In fact, they
That's
were
cool.
still taking pictures with it, and this one couple had turned around to take the selfie with the horse in the background. And as I walked in front of them, out of their picture sight, the horse decided he wanted to say hello to this woman in the couple and just walked over and just nudged her in the back.
Nice.
She almost landed in my lap.
Oh.
So, but it was a good production.
Good, glad to hear that.
And Saturday, I decided to be a scarecrow.
Nice.
And I went down to the Fall Fest and a scarecrow standing up there. So I decided I'd be a scarecrow picture. So,
Oh, I saw that on Facebook.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but it was a great activity too. They had, I never did hear a final count, but I asked him, I was there about mid-time. I said, how's the count been? And he said, well, for a first time event, we've had 100 to 300 people. So
Oh, good. That's very good for the
pretty
first.
happy with it. I think Jim was there even longer than I was. So if the crowd keep coming after the sun came out.
Absolutely.
So it was a good event.
Another good event hosted by a Clean and Beautiful committee. Really good committee that's still going strong.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else?
Mayor, not really a report, but I've been thinking about what you had brought up earlier around the invitation from Bluffdale. I just wanted to clarify if you feel like that's a professional courtesy, between mayors of a city or something like that. I would be willing to help you, at least show up with a pallet of stuff or some kind of donation.
Let me check with her, but
if that is something that you think, if I definitely feel like we should, do our own here for our own purposes, and really put our investment into that. But if that's something that you're asking, as the mayor and something that you feel would be a professional courtesy, I'd be happy to support that as well. But with our own main investment being in doing something like that for our own city. But yeah, I just wanted to ask if that was the case. If so, I'm happy to support you on that. If not, then maybe we should just do our own and focus on that. But yeah, I just wanted to raise that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think if we didn't have our own situation, I appreciate the backing to say, yeah, let's support another city, but I think she'll understand with us having our own facility to take care of. So thank you for that, though.
Okay, great.
Okay, nothing else there. Strategic discussion list. Was there anything in anybody's? We're kind of clicking them off one by one with this last archives discussion, so. West Fest. Like, what was that place? So West Fest, I read the report we got back. I would like a current report about what's going on with the standing of the West Fest committee and everything that way. So if we could get just a communication report on that. We did get one back in July, but I think we need a current, how things are going. Okay. All right, then. We do have a need for a closed session for the professional competency and disposition of real property. And that's it.
Motion to adjourn. Then we'll go to closed session for disposition of real property first, and then professional competency. We'll have no other items.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Oh, no, roll count, sorry.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu,
Aye.
Councilman Whitstone,
Yes.
Councilman Harmon,
Yes.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Norfelt,
Yes.
and Mayor Ling.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, here we go. We'll see you. Oh, then we need a motion. You did the motion to adjourn and that. So we'll see you in 5 minutes.
Jake and Will, I sent you both a link.
Okay, I see it. Thank you.